Hello, and welcome to the Slumbering Sloth Book Nook, a podcast about all things books, publishing, and more. My name is Emma, and today my guest is Charlotte Crouch. Charlotte is a marketing assistant at Oxford University Press and is also currently the conference officer and inclusivity coordinator for the Society of Young Publishers Oxford branch. Okay, so after all that fun and games with the technical difficulties, welcome Charlotte. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, it's always fun, isn't it? Trying to sort it out. Okay, so first things first, can you tell us a little bit about your role at OUP and like what you do and what department you're in?
Okay, so I am a marketing assistant with Oxford University Press, and I'm part of the academic division. And my role specifically is with the dictionaries team. So that means I work with products like the Oxford English Dictionary, Oxford Dictionaries Online, and our global languages projects as well. Basically, my job, how I like to think of it, is showing people all over the world the cool things that you can do with our dictionaries.
Yes, and it sounds like quite a lot you can do with the dictionaries all over the world. It sounds quite an interesting career choice, and it sounds very interesting. More than we think dictionaries, you just think, oh, there's loads and loads of words, but I guess there's more than that.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, at the moment we're in a massive transformation program, so we're trying to move away from the idea of dictionaries are just words, because it's amazing the kind of products that people are making with our data. You know, you think about like, I don't know, Google Translate or Word, things like that. Like that is our data, or people making cool apps and word games, and even artificial intelligence, and the things that people are doing with dictionary data is crazy.
It sounds it, especially with AI and, you know, the launch of
Yeah.
technology is developing all the time. And especially with, from what I've seen with the publishing industry, you know, that market is eventually going to become massive in the next couple of years, isn't it? Especially with, you know, Google's AI. And I can imagine that a lot of publishers are slowly going to sort of turn to that technology. Do you see that in the future kind of as a thing?
Well, yeah, I think that's where we are. I think that we're just at the cusp of that now. So we have an API program where we license our data out to developers, no matter what their kind of project is. And then we also have a licensing program as well, so people can cache our data and use it for whatever that they're doing. But at the moment, we're trying to get to know researchers better, so we can find out what tools we can develop and offer academic and AI developers in the future that are going to be beneficial to them. So we're in a bit of a stage of transition, I suppose. We don't really know what the OED or what our data is going to look like or what forms it's going to come in, but we know that it can do a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds quite interesting, the way it's all going, especially with you know, especially with the markets changing, you know, from technology, even from ebooks and audio books and making a comeback. It's just part of the time, isn't it? That everything is slowly going to become digital. But they did say that, you know, books eventually would sort of fizzle out. But I think there's still a market for physical product, isn't there? And I think there always will be that physical demand for the dictionary. Do you think that would still be there? Not as
I
much as
do.
a demand, but in the
I
future.
do think so. I mean, we're always going to do print dictionaries. I mean, we don't update our editions in print anymore. You can still buy them and they're still printed year on year. But if you pick up a full copy of the OED, that hasn't been updated for probably over 20 years,
Yeah.
the full edition of the OED I'm talking about. So, I mean, a lot of our editors and a lot of customers do want a third edition of the OED, as in the 20 volume massive thing that you need a whole bookcase to store.
Yeah.
And people do want to work towards that. But the thing is, especially with recording language and the rate at which things change now, is that language is impossible to record in a set amount of time. You know, by the time we bring out a third edition of the OED, everything will have changed again. People won't be using those words anymore, because with things like Twitter and whatever technology, words just catch on so quickly now
Oh,
that it's
yes.
impossible to keep up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's just rolling with the times. So, yeah, I'd like to change a little bit of a direction. So, how did you begin your journey into publishing? Like, what was your way into publishing?
Okay, so I studied English literature for my undergraduate degree. And while I was there, I was chief editor for my university newspaper. And then I volunteered on the Society of Young Publishers in the North Division as a communications officer. So we hosted a lot of events with publishing companies or people hoping to get into the industry. So I did a lot of that. And then I spent a couple of weeks doing work experience with a local publishing company that I was lucky to get into. And then I went and did a master's in contemporary literature. And then I applied for my job here. But I don't think you need a master's, or you don't even necessarily need a degree to get into publishing. I think it's just about showing you've got passion for the industry.
Yeah, of course. It's such a competitive industry as well to get into, and I think we all know people trying to get into the industry,
Yeah.
myself included. So I think it's just luck, isn't it? And then, as long as you're passionate and show what you can do, I think you can just do about anything.
Well, yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's about finding your niche in publishing. I think people will often go, "Oh, I want to work in publishing," and it's like, well, what publisher do you want to work for? What kind of publishing do you want to work in? Do you want to publish non-fiction? Do you want to go into academic? Do you want to publish poetry? Do you want to publish ebooks, audiobooks? I think sometimes people go at the whole idea of publishing as just a massive vague concept, when sometimes it's better just to focus on what actually interests you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think research is key, definitely, when you're sort of starting out in publishing. And I think I love a lot of the fact that, I've gone up to London a few times. I did the SYP conference last year, and I met loads of people. I probably ended up meeting you or something
Yeah,
along,
probably.
probably, at the conference. And it was so lovely to meet so many like-minded people, and
Yeah.
everyone just loves knowing each other's journeys. I mean, I had the opportunity to go to a London Book Fair, and even
Oh,
talking to
wow.
people at London Book Fair was quite interesting. So I think learning from everybody is quite a nice thing. I think they're such a friendly industry, publishing, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's just getting to know as many people as possible, and like what you're doing now with this podcast, it's about doing something to show that you're excited about the industry and meeting different people, hearing different experiences, and yeah, I think just be out there as much as you can, really.
Yeah, exactly. I think Twitter's been a fantastic springboard
Mm.
for that as well, especially with, I think, because obviously I do English with publishing, and I think
Yeah.
a lot of people don't really think Twitter is quite is thing as a platform for to get in to speak to people, but I think it's been an amazing way. I don't think I know half the stuff I would know or speak to people, you end up meeting in real life, and it's so strange when you're
Yeah.
like, I meet that person on Twitter. I do.
Yeah.
I look
Exactly.
nothing like my profile photo. It's a bit
Yeah.
odd.
I think like probably about 70% of the people I know from publishing I've met through Twitter.
Yeah.
It's I think the industry is all on Twitter. Not, I mean, I don't really see that much engagement on Facebook, but Twitter definitely.
I think Twitter's where it's at nowadays. I think Instagram has been quite a help for me as well, but that's mainly been learning about trends and what people are
Yeah,
reading. I think Twitter's more about discussion about
yeah,
the
definitely.
industry and what you can learn. And I think internships are all posted mostly on Twitter nowadays. That's where I've
Yeah,
seen most of the stuff, which has been
yeah.
really good. So that's where I saw my penguin thing. I was like, oh, I'm going to apply for that. And obviously I didn't get it, but it was really useful. So moving on to something else, what do you think the key skills for your role are, or what you've gained in your role as
I think I think marketing specifically, you need to be creative, and you need to be the kind of person who's happy to bring new ideas to the table, and always look for new opportunities or new solutions to problems. And alongside that, I think a lot of it is kind of digital analytics skills. So you've got to be really social media savvy. You've got to understand what makes good, engaging content and how you can analyze the results from things like that.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Do you think you need quite a lot of organisational skills for your role to
Oh,
balance
yeah,
everything?
definitely. I think time management, organization, and people skills are really important. I think in probably any publishing role, you definitely need those skills, but they're the kind of skills that you can get from any part-time job or any kind of commitment. And all these transferable skills are so valuable in this industry.
Yeah, exactly. Transferable skills are really good. I mean, I work in a part-time retail job at the moment, and it's been really helpful. I've been working since I was 16, so it's been quite helpful to learn the skills,
Mm.
that you can gain from anything. And I think getting publishing work experience and even learning, as difficult as it is, it sort of gives you an idea of what the industry is like. did you do lots of work experience and learn skills from that?
Aside from my university voluntary commitments, the SYP, and then I did a couple of weeks with a local children's publisher, which was really helpful. But I think because it was such a small publisher, I got to see all different departments. I think if I'd have gone for work experience with Penguin or someone really big, I would have obviously been in editorial or in marketing or in rights, and I would have just been that side of things. I could be wrong because I haven't done that, but that's the sense that I get. And I think that if you can get work experience with a smaller company, it is better because you get a lot more out of that experience.
Yeah, of course. I think it's all interesting and all good. Experience is
Yeah.
great. So definitely learning about the industry. So So you obviously do work with the SYP in Oxford. So can you tell us a bit about your role with the SYP? So currently you're an events coordinator and an inclusivity coordinator. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm on the conference team. So we are working to plan this year's conference, which is going to be hosted in Oxford this year. So we're in the process of thinking about the themes, the different speakers we want, what kind of panel discussions we want to have, and basically what are the hot topics in publishing right now. So we're working as a small group to put all that together and start contacting people we want to appear. And alongside that, as an inclusivity coordinator, that basically just means that every event we do, every social post we do, I have to make sure that it is accommodating everybody, no matter the budget or the lifestyle or the religion or the race, all of these kinds of factors. I just have to make sure that we're being as inclusive as possible in anything we do.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Because it's quite a hot topic in publishing at the moment, isn't it? Especially with inclusivity.
Yeah, definitely. I think publishing is spending a lot of time and effort trying to reduce the gender pay gap and increase diversity and things like that. But I mean, things are just slow, aren't they? It's not an industry known for speed, I think.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, so especially with the way that the industry is going, I thought I'd just ask, you obviously work in Oxford. How would you say the publishing scene in Oxford is slightly different to London? Would you say it's because it's a lot more sort of compact in Oxford, or would you say it's bigger, or is there a lot more going on with the publishing scene in Oxford?
I mean, I haven't worked in the London publishing scene, but what I can see is that for me personally, I find it not as busy and probably not as competitive in Oxford. I suppose that's because there aren't as many publishers here. I mean, you've still got Taylor and Francis and Oxford University Press, which are basically the big ones here, and there are still loads of opportunities within those. But I feel like there aren't as many places to compete for. Maybe I don't know if I'm phrasing this in the best way. And for me, living in Oxford appealed to me much more than living in London, just because of how hectic it is. And I think Oxford's nice because you can go and you can get your publishing dream, and you can work in an office, which is what publishing obviously is. But you're also, you're surrounded by countryside and beautiful buildings, and it's a nice historical city.
Yeah, it is. It's very beautiful. I went up there like a couple of years ago, and I was like, I love it here. It's so pretty and
Yeah,
it's so relaxed, and everyone is so
yeah,
lovely. And also, it's the very traditional buildings. I'm like,
yeah.
I absolutely love old architecture, so it was like my dream. But yeah, it seems like such a tight knit sort of publishing community in Oxford from people who I've spoken to about who work in Oxford publishing. They say it's like, it's very relaxed, and it's so people are just
Yeah.
very welcoming.
I think that's what it is. But we've also got really good connections to London. So, if you ever did want to move to a job in London, it's often only a 40-minute train away. And obviously we've got the SYP here, and we have some really good events going on here. But you can also go to the London ones. I think it's a good place to be if you don't want to be right in the middle of London. It's a nice kind of middle ground.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very well connected, which is always
Yeah.
good, especially because I live in Devon at the moment. I live in a town just outside of Plymouth, and we don't
Oh.
have the best connections, I have to admit. The train lines have improved slightly, but it would be lovely to get, sort of more connections in the future so we can get up to London a bit quicker, which would be lovely.
I imagine that's not the best place to be looking for publishing roles and things like that.
We do have publishers down here, but they're very, very small. So Exeter's probably the one where we've got a few, but it's just a lot of people I know, especially I've got a couple of friends who have moved out of the southwest to go and pursue careers in creative industries in London.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully in the future we will sort of get some kind of, especially with the SYP Southwest, we'll sort of get a bit more traction, and hopefully some publishers will emerge from that. So that'll hopefully be great one day. But yeah, so also, like, lastly, just wanted to ask, or if there's anything you've read at the moment, like a book you'd recommend, or anything that you've read you're like, oh, I really need to speak about this book, it sounds amazing, or
do you mean fiction or to do with publishing? Or
just like books in general, anything that you've read or that you've loved recently, like fiction or whatever you've read recently, book-wise.
God, everything always leaves your mind, doesn't it, as soon as you ask the question?
I know.
I mean, I get through about 3 books a week, and gosh, none of them are coming to my mind. What did I like recently? The Familiars was quite good. I think, is that Stacey Halls who wrote that?
I think so.
Yeah, that was quite good. It's not my usual kind of thing, but it was, that was really interesting. If you like kind of historical fiction, like, I'm normally a Sarah Waters kind of reader, but I really did enjoy that. I've also been enjoying kind of like memoirs that matter, I think they're often called. So, like This Is Going to Hurt, and things like that, like nurses' stories and real life memoirs. Lily Allen's autobiography as well was actually really interesting, and I think probably quite an important book for women to read, as well as Dolly Alderton's Everything I Know About Love. That is fantastic.
Yes, I've seen quite a lot of Lily Allen's autobiography was like huge when it was announced. I think a lot of people, it was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. And also This Is Going to Hurt has been on the charts for weeks. So I think obviously I still need to read it. Like, I've got so much, my shelf is like a small library, and obviously I've got uni books to read. So I take my sweet time when it comes to reading. But yeah, I definitely got a list in probably as long as my arm of books to read. So
I think as soon as you finish studying, that's it. That was what I was like. Obviously, like you, I used to have 2 or 3 books to read a week for my university lessons, and now I read like a minimum of that for fun each week.
Yeah.
And it's so nice.
I recently just read The Salt Path by Rena Wynn on the site, because it was quite a nice sort of book to read, when you're not sort of studying, because I've just finished Dorian Gray, and I'm like doing my essay and I'm like, oh God, I can't read this again. It's just so dense. But yeah, it's just nice to sometimes read something on the side if you're doing study. I feel like even if I just read something quite short, it always sort of seems to nicely just take my brain away from those really hefty Victorian literature novels. So
I know what you mean. Even if you do really, really enjoy the novels on your course, you're also kind of bitter towards them, because you're like, I have to read these.
I was like them in North and South. I absolutely loved it.
Oh God, don't get me started on that book. I hate them.
Yeah, I know.
And also Emma. Have you read Emma?
No, I haven't.
Oh, God,
it's on my shelf to read. I love Jane Austen, so it's just.
Pamela. Pamela, have you read that one?
No, I know some people did that on my course, and they were traumatized by that book. I can tell.
So frustrating.
Oh dear. Yeah, I think the only one I've sort of really enjoyed so far was. I think it was definitely Persuasion. That was really enjoyed romanticism, so that was good. And I'm currently reading Romance of a Shop by Amy Levi, which is a Victorian novel, and she was a photographer. Well, she was a writer during the time, which is really interesting. She only wrote 2 novels and loads of poetry in her very short life, but she's brilliant, absolutely fantastic. So it's quite nice to have like an undiscovered writer on the course, which is lovely.
Yeah, that is nice.
So anyway, well, thank you very much for taking your time to come and speak on the podcast, and I do apologise about the
that's quite all right.
So yeah,
I hope it all goes well for you.
Exactly, thank you very much. Is there any events at the SYP Oxford coming up very soon that people might want to get involved in?
Yes, there are. So on the 23rd of April at the old fire station, which is near Gloucester Green bus station, we are having an introduction to publishing. So we've got all different kinds of speakers there. Basically, they're going to be talking about all the different areas that you can get involved in publishing. It's not just editorial and marketing. We'll have people from PR, rights, all different areas are going to be there. And then we've got on the 19th, as well, we have a monthly book club, and our book clubs are open to non-members and they're free to attend. We normally just meet in a cafe or a pub in Oxford and we talk about whatever kind of book we've all been reading. I think this month it's You, and next month, I'm not sure what the book club book is because that's up to the members of each week to decide. But next month, I believe on the 20th as well, we've got people from senior positions in HR at OUP who are going to be doing a skills workshop and a CV workshop, helping people tailor applications for publishing roles. So it's kind of a bring your CV in and we'll help you go through it and see which jobs would be good for you.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear that you've got all those events coming up and
Yeah.
people are making an active effort to help people get into publishing, which is always great to hear and great to see. So that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time again, and I hope to speak to you soon. And people can follow you on Twitter, can't they? What's your handle?
I can. It's Crouch 1996.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time, Charlotte.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you once again for Charlotte coming onto the podcast today. If you want to find out more, you can follow me at NovelM16 on Twitter, or if you want to be involved in the podcast, then you can email me at theslumberingSlothbooknook@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. Thank you once again for listening. I look forward to next week's episode. Bye!